Good morning, friends. This is Pastor Terry McCarthy again. I hope you all are well today. Yesterday, and this is a daily devotion that I'm going to start doing, as I spoke of yesterday, called Prayer Notes. That's what I'm entitling it. Yesterday, I spoke of the blessing that I usually use at the conclusion of all my correspondence, and at the conclusion of yesterday's video, and it was peace and all goodness to you. And it's a Franciscan blessing. And I want to talk about that a little bit because it is customary for me to use it, and I enjoy using it, and I find meaning in it. And although it is customary, I wouldn't say it's habitual. I don't do it out of rote or because I feel like I have to or an obligation. I do it because like I said, it brings meaning to me. So I wanted to talk about that. This morning, I'm going to talk about the peace part of it. Tomorrow, I'll talk about the all goodness part of that blessing. I was always drawn to the idea of peace. I was always drawn to St. Francis of Assisi as a young person. It was my confirmation name when I was confirmed in the Roman Catholic Church when I was only 10 years old. And I was drawn to the idea that it was also the first gift of Jesus to his apostles in some resurrection accounts after he was risen. Peace I give you. Not my peace, but my Father's peace. So it's not just a human sense, but there's something divine to that sense of peace, that sense of wholeness within ourselves and others, that sense of reconciliation, that sense that allows us to do things like forgive one another, which was Jesus' next commandment to his disciples immediately in one gospel account of the resurrection after he shared with them peace. Forgive one another. If you forgive those sins, they are released. If you don't forgive them, well, then they're still there. So that the other sense of peace that is more recent for me is a sense of that it is not a one-time thing. When you make a promise to someone in marriage or in any other kind of relationship, or as a parent, you don't have to say it one time. You don't have to make that promise. You don't have to care for them just one time. You don't have to be yourself and honest and transparent with them one time. It isn't a one-off. It's a process. It requires resilience. So I think of peace as a resilient process or resilient peace, which God gives us, which we can demonstrate to others and show within our own actions and attitudes towards others. Recently audited the course Religions and Violence and Peace Building by Dr. Paul this January. I audited it. And what I learned is about the movement of Fethullah Gulen, a Turkish Islamic cleric, but not a fundamentalist by any sense. Someone whose mission and whose preaching and teaching included advocacy and included for human rights and included education and education about science and educating young people and his brothers and sisters in his community about how they can contribute better to this whole community and to how Islam is the foundation for contributing to make communities with one another, beloved communities, as we say in our Christian communities. And Guillen's movement, you see he's passed now, but his movement that he started, known as the Guillen movement, has persevered and has missions not only in the Islamic world, although it's currently persecuted in Turkey, and has been resilient in face of that persecution. And has some certain things have been eliminated that he started in Turkey in mission and organizations, but it persists. It is resilient in Europe, in Africa, and in the Americas. This is the sort of peace that we strive towards. This is the sort of peace that Jesus wants us to have, that we can forgive and be loving and think of others before ourselves, as the prayer attributed to St. Francis, which was written by members of his community after his death, we believe now, speaks to us of to love before we ourselves are loved, to care for others, more importantly than others caring for ourselves. So this is called Prayer Notes, so let us pray. May each of you be surrounded and be given each and every day of your lives that peace, the peace that Jesus gives us, the peace that allows us to give of ourselves and that is persistent and is resilient in our lives, resilient peace and all goodness to each of you this morning. See you again.